So what's the real difference between a parent just showing up for a bake sale and a parent actually co-designing a science fair project with a teacher? The answer? Well, it's everything. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. The core ideas that can turn simple school contact into a really powerful partnership for learning.
Let's start with this big question right here. When you think about how schools and families connect, are we truly building sturdy, two-way bridges for collaboration? Or are we just sending one-way memos, newsletters and permission slips out into the void? There is a huge difference, and getting this right can change everything for our kids.
Now, to even begin to answer that, we've got to get our language straight. In education, we throw around the words involvement and engagement like they're the same thing, but they're not even close. And the distinction between them, it's the foundation for this whole conversation.
This slide lays out the contrast perfectly. So on the left, you've got involvement. That's often a school-led, one-way street. Think of things the school asks families to do, right? Attend a concert, sign a report card, chaperone a trip. It's important stuff, don't get me wrong, but the school is directing all the action. Now look to the right. Engagement is a true two-way partnership. It's collaborative, it's built on shared power, and it positions families as what they are, essential experts in their child's education.
This quote, this really gets to the heart of what authentic engagement feels like. It mentions this fantastic concept, funds of knowledge. So what's that? It's this powerful idea that every single family, no exceptions, has this deep well of unique skills, cultural wisdom, and life experience. Real engagement doesn't just see this, it actively seeks it out and builds on it like it's a core asset.
Okay, so if real engagement is our North Star, how do we actually get there? What does that journey even look like for a family? Luckily for us, researchers have already created a kind of roadmap that maps out this whole path to partnership.
All right, let's dive into this framework. It's called the Hoover, Dempsey, and Sandler model, and it's pretty foundational for understanding the whole process. It really helps us answer the big questions. What motivates families to even participate in the first place? What different forms can that participation take? And crucially, how does all that lead to better outcomes for students?
So here's a high-level look at the model. As you can see, it's broken down into 5 levels that show a really clear logical progression. It all starts with a family's personal motivations and how the school invites them in, then it flows through the specific ways a family gets engaged and connects directly to things that actually boost student achievement. It's the whole journey, right there.
And everything, and I mean everything, hinges on this very first level. The whole journey just stalls if we don't get this part right. It really comes down to 3 things. First, a family's personal motivators, what they believe about their role. Second, how they perceive invitations. Do they feel genuinely wanted and welcomed by the school? And third, their life context. The real-world stuff, like their access to time, energy, and skills. Understanding this first step is absolutely everything.
So, knowing the path is one thing, but that doesn't just magically build the bridge, does it? How do we actually construct that connection between families and schools? Well, the most important thing to realize is that this is not a one-sided construction project.
And that brings us to the dual capacity building framework. The key word here is dual. The research is just overwhelmingly clear on this. For partnerships to really thrive, you have to build capacity on both sides of the bridge. It isn't just about teaching families how to navigate the school system. It's just as much about preparing school staff to welcome, honor, and collaborate with families effectively.
Let's start with the challenge on the school's side. This points out a huge systemic issue. Most educators get very little, if any, formal training in how to build these partnerships, and this can lead them, often completely unintentionally, to view families through a deficit lens, focusing on what they think families are lacking instead of the incredible strengths and assets they already possess.
Now, let's look at the other side of that same bridge. When that deficit mindset is there, families feel it. Of course they do. They report feeling disrespected, unheard, or like their own knowledge about their own child isn't valued. And these aren't just hurt feelings. These are real barriers that can cause a family to just disengage completely, often to protect themselves and their children.
So how in the world do we overcome these massive challenges? Well, the framework gives us a blueprint with these essential conditions. Any successful effort has to be relational. It's got to be built on trust. It must be asset-based, starting from a place of strength, and it needs to be culturally sustaining, collaborative, and interactive. These aren't just nice-to-have buzzwords. They are the absolute non-negotiable pillars of that bridge.
Okay, we've looked at the big ideas, we've looked at the research-backed frameworks, but what does all of this actually mean for you, for your school, for your practice right now? Let's make this really personal and kind of turn the lens inward for a moment.
To do that, we can turn to the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement, or NAFSC for short. They've developed this great set of core competencies that serve as a perfect mirror for self-reflection, whether you're a teacher, an administrator, or a community partner.
So let's get honest with ourselves for a second. Ask yourself this powerful question. How do I truly respect, value, and honor the diverse cultures and languages in my community? Am I just kind of tolerating difference, or am I actively celebrating it and weaving it into the very fabric of the learning environment?
Let's build on that with this next one. How well am I building trusting, reciprocal relationships? And reciprocal is the key word there. It means it goes both ways, a true give and take of expertise and respect. And notice that crucial focus, especially with families our system is historically underserved. Are we putting in that extra effort to build trust where it may have been broken?
And this final reflection question really brings it all home. How do I co-construct learning opportunities with families? This is that ultimate shift from doing things for them to doing things with them. This isn't just about a potluck. This is asking a parent who's a carpenter to help design a geometry lesson, or inviting a grandparent who's a master storyteller to code-teach a creative writing unit. It's about treating family knowledge as the priceless curriculum resource it is.
You know, the goal of all this isn't to achieve perfection overnight. It's really about taking small, intentional steps forward. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Based on everything we've just explored, what is one small, concrete step you can take today to start building a stronger, more authentic partnership? Because that first step, that's where all the real work begins.